My name is Doug Deason. I'm Director for Advanced Research at the Missile Defense Agency, and I get to come out on bus tours every once in a while. So yes, we came in on a bus for 1 minute, no, 5 minutes this morning, but we'll leave and go to Seattle later on. So it is really a bus tour. So I'm here to talk about the Missile Defense Agency. It's not an agency not everyone is familiar with. We are a Department of Defense agency. We report up through the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, so we're equivalent to DARPA, if that helps you in an org chart sort of way. Our mission is protection of the continental United States, our deployed troops, our friends and allies, against missile attack. And the threat is growing both in terms of complexity and capability, and this is more or less, this is the standard threat picture that I would show you at pretty much at any given time. This is not really addressing advancements beyond this capability. But so if you hear anything about in the news about North Korea or Iran, that ultimately ends up being us as the developers of the capability prevent those things from hitting the ground. So we develop capabilities to sense, shoot, and control the overall battle management for missile defense engagements. So we are deployed. We started out back in the 80s under the Star Wars sort of thing, SDIO. We went to BMDO. Now we're in the Missile Defense Agency. You're going to see more and more where we drop the ballistic off of it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But these are deployed since we have a number of sensors that are deployed worldwide, whether that's satellite, forward-based, ground-based systems, or sea-based systems. We have a number of kinetic energy interceptors that are designed from the PAC-3 kind of site defense all the way to the ground-based missile defense system, which is silo-based and is strictly for intercontinental ballistic missile attack. The payloads on those ICBMs are never nice. It's not a standard payload. It's chem, bio, and nuclear. So our goal is always to engage as far away from our land as possible to carry the fight to the other side. But we are strictly the defensive aspect of it. We're the linebackers. So we're transforming missile defense as we go on. We're trying to become more agile. We're moving more towards space layers. We're moving away from kinetic interceptors, although in my lifetime, that's what we're going to use, but more toward lasers and directed energy approaches, which in theory gives you a lot more of a holster with lots of shot opportunities, but like the physics is there, but the engineering is still extremely challenging to get those deployed where you need them to and develop concept of operations for them. But of course, we'd always like to make this more affordable, not as much driven toward bottom line budgetary lines as it is if we can make each interceptor less expensive, we can buy more interceptors, which gives us more shots. So our technology interest areas, if it has anything to do with rocket technology or rocket science, we do that. We just call them interceptors. They range from relatively smaller rounds of an 8-inch variety up to quite a bit larger size. So once you get to that stage, it's a rocket, it's no longer a missile. The command and control system, we have to do things like we have to acquire the target, we have to track the target, we have to develop a firing solution, which if you're doing ballistic attack is relatively simple physics 101. You start here, it goes like this, it's a ballistic arc. The next generation of targets don't do that. So that's a big thing. So when we do live fire intercept tests, the Pacific Ocean is our test range, and we deploy a small army out there to conduct the test. We have sensors in the air and space, shipboard. A single intercept test can cost $250 million. So we have to rely on modeling and simulation extensively to predict the overall architecture performance, all the way down to physics-based phenomenology of the target signature, the physics of that plume. What is that target going to look like based on the physics? And from a sensor standpoint, of course, we're looking at largely ground-based radar systems or ship-based radar systems. But as we move more and more toward space, airborne platforms, we're looking more and more toward IR. The seekers on board the interceptors are EO/IR sensors. So we are not that necessarily that well known But the DARPA and MDA run neck and neck most years. We used to be substantially bigger, but we're in excess of 115 million this year, so we have a fairly substantial program. So it's about half or a third of the size of the three services, but we're the fourth largest program. But we've actually accomplishing things. We don't put out a whole number of topics, but we try to get them out there so that they're helpful for you. And for more information, I'm sure these charts will be made available. And so here's contact information for you for more information. Thank you.